The IDF is, now let's talk about the 15 aid workers that were killed in Rafah. Now, 9 of these aid workers, so if you recall, just to back up, there was a convoy of emergency vehicles that rolled up on an IDF ambush and was lit up by the IDF. All of the medics in those ambulances were killed, and their bodies were put in a shallow grave and covered up so that the dogs and animals didn't get at them. And then the IDF immediately let the UN know where they were and reported what had happened. That all happened immediately. So they did the right thing there. Now, the IDF investigation has turned up that at least 9 of the 15 medics were known Hamas terror operatives. And some of them were armed. And it's actually visible in the video if you look very closely. The first couple guys that jump out of the vehicles when they get stopped are armed. They have long guns on them. So this incident, that right there, if 9 of the 15 were known terrorists and some of them were armed, they were also in an area where they weren't supposed to be, because that corridor, that road that they were on, if you were going to drive on that road, you were required to pre-clear your movement with the IDF because you'd be moving through their lines. And these people did not do that. They just rolled up on this thing at 4:30 in the morning at a very high rate of speed, which you can see on the video, with lights and sirens going on some of the vehicles, not all of them. And since they weren't cleared, look, the IDF has had far too many instances where Hamas terror operatives have used emergency vehicles to move their fighters around or even to attack the IDF from. And so what that does is it removes the protection from these emergency vehicles. I mean, they can't be expected to respect emergency vehicles if the terrorists are using them to attack you. And in this case, this convoy was not cleared to be on that road. And they just came barreling down the road anyway and rolled right up to this IDF ambush. The IDF lit them up from a distance. So some of the claims later on made by the Palestinians were that the IDF walked up to these medics and executed them gangland style in the back of the head and handcuffed their hands behind their back. It turns out none of that was true. They were shot from a distance, and UNRWA is saying, yeah, but they were all shot in the torso. They aimed at their heads. Yeah, that's how you're taught to aim when you're in the military. The military's never taught to aim at your legs, because you can be shot in the legs a whole lot and still be a threat. So center mass is how they aim. And they apparently are pretty good shots because they took out all these guys from a fairly significant distance. So that means that they, again, these guys being in the wrong place where they weren't supposed to be, coming up on this ambush at a high rate of speed, unannounced, and then stopping and jumping out with weapons, then the entire convoy is a legitimate military target. That's all there is to it. So perhaps it could have been handled differently. Maybe these guys could have done something different, but I'm going to give the IDF the benefit of the doubt here because, rule number one in this war is that all of the bad things that happen after October 7th are the fault of Hamas. Just none of this had to happen at all. I guarantee you there's not one IDF soldier who wants to be in Gaza, just like, oh, I just wish I could be in Gaza right now rather than be at home living in peace. Soldiers that have seen war don't want more war. They would love for the war to be over and go home to their families safely. And so all of the terrible tragedies that have happened in this conflict on both sides are the fault of Hamas and Iran, as it turns out. We'll talk about more of that in just a second as well. Since becoming the new IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir has been meeting with the families of the hostages every weekend. And he's, giving them an update on the war and helping them understand how the IDF is making every effort to recover and rescue the remaining hostages. There are 59 remaining hostages who they believe are still alive. And they're doing everything they can to get them out. But there are still protests going on in Israel. And I saw one that was on Fox this morning with Trey Yingst, where the father of one of the hostages got up at this gathering, this protest, where they were stopping traffic again in Tel Aviv, and got on the microphone and said, the only possible solution, the only thing we should do is just give up and leave so that we can get our people back. That's the only way to get our people back. So he's not willing to see Israel victorious if it means the loss of his own son. I don't know how I would react if it was my son in there, but I hope that I would be a little more patriotic than that.
To our friends in Australia, you can now enjoy free Wi-Fi.